Yeah, I thought that would catch your attention. How did we get here? So, before we begin, I want to clarify something. This is not satire, this is not a prank, and this is not me losing control of my degree. Hi, I'm Anna, this is Huggy Wuggy, and I'm going to use him to explain to you why emotional manipulation is significantly cuter when it's made out of fluffy polyester. He was designed to chase you through a dark factory and make you afraid of toy mascots forever. Now he lives on my couch. Please take this seriously. I am. We are going to explore kitsch and what this has to do with nostalgia and consumer culture using this fluffy fella here as my case study. And this is not because I ran out of better examples. It's unfortunately because this example is extremely good. Because my friend from Poppy Playtime over here can be understood as kitsch, shaped by mass production, conspicuous consumption, and the loss of aura. I am not kidding. This is all going to make sense in a moment. Just stay with me. You may ask yourself now, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean by kitsch? Do you seriously say that this thing right here is art? Well, let's check off the basics first, because if you haven't happened to play the game this beast originates from and aren't chronically online like I am, you may find yourself asking, who or what the hell is a Huggy Wuggy in the first place?
Come visit the factory.
So, where did Cookie Monster's evil cousin come from? Poppy Playtime is an episodic survival horror video game developed by MOB Games. It is set in the abandoned toy factory called Playtime Co., where players explore eerie environments, solve puzzles, and try to survive encounters with monstrous versions of the company's former toys. If you think this sounds cute enough, I get stressed just watching Let's Plays. The lore of Poppy Playtime is deep and dark and insane, and if this piques your interests, I highly recommend playing it for yourself. Huggy Wuggy is the first antagonist from the first chapter of Poppy Playtime. He initially appears as a giant welcoming statue, only to later stalk and chase you through the factory. Stressful. Oh, so stressful. This character has become extremely popular as a meme and as merchandise outside of the game, especially as plush toys, hence this fluffy fella. I won him at a fun fair, just for context. I had experienced the game when it first came out in 2021, and not long after I saw little kids walking around with this plush. They were everywhere. The amount of children that I saw, I thought I was going through psychosis.
Come visit the factory.
Okay, cool. So now that we're all up to date where Huggy Wuggy comes from, what does this have to do with kitsch? Well, in order for this to be academic and me getting my credit for the course that I'm doing this for, let's talk a little bit about it. What exactly is kitsch? Who decides if something is kitschy or not? Because let's be real, I wouldn't have bought this thing if I thought it was ugly. Or do I own him because I think he is ugly? You're beautiful. Please don't hurt me. So, what is kitsch? In everyday language, kitsch is usually used as an insult. It refers to objects that are seen as overly sentimental, tasteless, or just trying too hard to be emotionally appealing. I'm talking about this, or even this.
Oh, hell no.
In aesthetic theory, however, kitsch is not simply about bad taste. It is about how aesthetic experience is structured. And I am going to go into some theory here, just stay with me. Morel and Loy describe kitsch as a form of instant art. By this they mean that kitsch produces immediate and predictable emotional responses without requiring reflection or interpretation or any kind of effort. You do not have to sit with it, you do not have to think about it. The object does the emotional work for you. You do not go to the museum to look at a slightly disturbing looking colorful porcelain cat wearing a flower bonnet and look for the deeper meaning of the artwork like the cultivated individual that you are. However, this immediacy is crucial. Kitsch does not tolerate ambiguity. It doesn't leave room for uncertainty or discomfort. It tells you exactly what to feel, and it does so very efficiently. No need to search for meaning or use your brain for context. Kitsch just exists, which is convenient and also deeply unsettling. I mean, look at this. You don't look at this and feel compelled to interpret the inspiration behind this masterpiece. Or you're insane like I am and choose it for a video essay topic. Stephanie Brown complicates this understanding by pointing out that contemporary kitsch is rarely naive. In late capitalist culture, people often recognize kitsch as kitsch and enjoy it anyway. The pleasure comes not from mistaking kitsch as high art, but from engaging with it knowingly. So I did choose this because it's cringe. This is especially visible in kitsch's relationship with nostalgia. Brown argues that kitsch doesn't connect us with the past as it actually was. Instead, it offers a sanitized, emotionally edited version of the past, stripped of complexity and conflict. Kitsch doesn't remember history, it rebrands it into something comforting and consumable. And this shift is important because kitsch is no longer just an aesthetic failure. It becomes cultural strategy to sell stuff. What a surprise! In The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, Walter Benjamin asks what happens to art when it can be endlessly reproduced through industrial means. His answer is that art loses its aura. F in the chat. Aura for Benjamin refers to an artwork's unique existence in time and space. It is the sense that an object exists independently of the viewer, anchored in a specific historical and material context. Aura creates distance. It demands attention. Think of a chandelier in an opulent ballroom, a real one, out of crystals, with real candles. Mechanical reproduction destroys this distance. If an artwork can be copied infinitely, it no longer has a singular presence. Instead, it becomes something that circulates freely, detached from its origin. Now, think of someone trying to recreate the same picture by buying a plastic chandelier and hanging it in their one-bedroom apartment. It just doesn't feel the same. And this goes for Huggy too. This has aura. This doesn't. I'm sorry, man, I don't make the rules here. Benjamin describes this as a shift from ritual value to exhibition value. Art no longer exists within tradition or ceremony, it exists to be displayed and consumed. And this is the cultural environment in which kitsch thrives. This transformation also directly connects to the concept of what is possibly my favorite term of this whole project, conspicuous consumption. Ah, yes, the process of buying stuff that you don't actually need, just so others can see that you can afford to buy it. You don't actually need that labubu, you just want to be part of the conversation. Don't act offended. Conspicuous consumption literally refers to the display of goods in order to signal wealth, taste, and cultural belonging. And in our modern consumer culture, especially in the middle class, objects function as social markers. They communicate who we are, what we value, and what kind of cultural knowledge we possess, whether this process is calculated or subconscious. And listen, if I want to spend 3 months worth of rent on labubus, that's between me, the labubu, and capitalism. Just kidding. I don't own a labubu. I can't afford them. So why do we do this? Why buy stuff just to showcase it to others? Here's the thing, what we like, what we reject, and how we talk about those preferences all situate us within a cultural hierarchy. Not because we want to, but because taste is not a matter of personal preference, but a social practice shaped by class, education, and cultural capital, used to create and maintain social distinctions. And if I can't afford to hang a crystal chandelier in my non-existent ballroom or buy a real labubu because of the offensive resale prices, I might opt for a dupe that tries to emulate a similar vibe, and therefore losing its aura. I wonder what Pierre Bourdieu would say if he knew I was using him to talk about labubus. That is why kitsch occupies an unstable position within this hierarchy. We may try to buy ourselves into a different standing in the sophistication food chain, but this is often dismissed as being too much, too obvious, too decorative, too emotional. But this access can also be enjoyed ironically or nostalgically. Context determines whether kitsch is embarrassing or comforting or even clever. And this is why it's important to emphasize that kitsch is not solely located in the object itself. It emerges in the relationship between the object, the audience, and the cultural moment. Again, context is key here. Think of that plastic chandelier in the one bedroom. It's only cringe if you say it is.
Come visit the factory. We can...
Now, back to Poppy Playtime. As I said, it is a horror game located in an abandoned toy factory. The game draws heavily on childhood nostalgia. Bright colors, smiling mascots, playful aesthetics. But it deliberately corrupts these elements, turning them into sources of fear. You could argue that the game critiques the toy industry and corporate exploitation by showing how innocence is manufactured, manipulated, and ultimately consumed, and childhood comfort becomes something threatening. Now, Huggy Wuggy within the game is not cute. He is tall, silent, unnervingly flexible, and aggressively affectionate. He basically embodies the idea that something designed to be comforting becomes hostile. This context is important because it makes what comes next extremely revealing. Huggy Wuggy becomes an actual plush toy. And the plush is where the theoretical threads of this essay come together. According to the theoretical framework we discussed, the plush functions as kitsch because it produces an immediate emotional response. It is soft and colorful, and all horror aspects are neutralized by fluff and familiarity. Just ignore the teeth. Or embrace it as part of the cuteness. I don't know, I can't tell you what to do. The plush does not invite reflection of the game's critique or corporate exploitation or corrupted innocence. Those meanings are stripped away. What remains is a simplified emotional experience. Comfort, amusement, mild unease. So we have a cute puppet mascot corrupted into a horror entity within the realm of the game, turned back into a slightly disturbing cute puppet mascot in our reality because of late-stage capitalism, which is quite horrifying in itself. If you feel your brain melting by now, don't worry, that's completely normal. So basically, kitsch operating on maximum efficiency. Hell, you don't even need to know about Poppy Playtime. I mean, look at this cute face. Now seriously, if all the children that I saw with this plush toy had actual knowledge of the game, I'd be far more concerned than I already was. The Huggy Wuggy plush is not simply a representation of the game character. For many consumers, especially children, the plush toy is Huggy Wuggy. The horror narrative becomes secondary or irrelevant. This aligns with what is called hyperkitsch, the copy of a 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 copy. The plush is already a softened version of the fictional character, mass-produced and endlessly replicated. Originality no longer matters. Anna Calvert drawing on Umberto Eco and Jean Baudrillard, I am so sorry if I am butchering these names, describes how contemporary culture produces copies that no longer meaningfully refer back to an original. In hyperreal culture, the copy does not imitate the reality, it replaces it. Returning back to Benjamin, this is exactly what we would expect in a world dominated by mechanical reproduction. The Huggy Wuggy plush has no aura. Dude, I said I'm sorry. Its value lies entirely in exhibition and consumption. It is designed to be photographed, displayed, owned, shared, used as a prop in a somewhat educational yet hopefully entertaining video essay. And this aligns perfectly with Benjamin's description of art under capitalism. And yet this does not mean that kitsch is simply empty or meaningless. So, is the Huggy Wuggy plush kitsch? Yes. Absolutely.
Come visit the factory. We can...
So, here we are. This is the conclusion. After talking about culture, capitalism, taste, way too many theoretical frameworks, we do not end with a grand statement or profound revelation. We end with Huggy Wuggy, which feels correct, albeit slightly underwhelming. Exaggerated artificiality isn't just meaningless excess. It can actually be revealing. When something is this obviously constructed and this overdone, it stops pretending to be authentic. The excess gives it away. You start to see the imitation, the performance, the system behind it. The fact that this thing tries so bad to make me feel something. In other words, Kitsch can teach us something, but only if we clock it as kitsch. If we don't just go, "Aw, spooky plush toy," and move on with our lives, which arguably is asking a lot, but still. The Huggy Wuggy plush is pure kitsch. It's bright, soft, slightly unsettling, and designed to trigger nostalgia, irony, and affection, all at the same time. It exists in a culture that is deeply aware of its own artificiality. Nobody thinks that Huggy Wuggy is authentic. And that's not the point. The enjoyment comes not despite the kitsch, but because of it. We know it's ridiculous, we know it's mass-produced, and we know it's a marketing object pretending to be spooky cute. And yet we still want to hug it, or display it, or ironically post it on social media like, "Look at my horrible son." With the comfortable knowledge that we are in on the joke, even as we actively participate in it. That's what makes Huggy Wuggy more than just a plush toy. Right here, right now, it becomes a diagnostic object. It shows us how kitsch functions in late capitalist culture, how nostalgia is manufactured rather than remembered, how emotions are packaged into sellable forms, how aura disappears through mass production and then awkwardly reappears through irony, horror aesthetics, and limited edition merch drops. It also reminds us that taste is never neutral. Liking Huggy Wuggy ironically reads as cultural awareness. Liking him unironically reads as something entirely different. Same object, very different social meanings. So overall, kitsch is not something to dismiss as shallow or tasteless. It's a way of understanding how culture behaves under mass production, repetition, and capitalism. It tells us what kind of feelings are safe and sellable, and how we learn to enjoy them while pretending we are above it all. And if all of that can be learned from a blue plush monster with too many teeth and questionable vibes, then honestly, this feels like an appropriate place to end. And now go and psychologically unpack your relationship with novelty plushies.